Welcome to the Bright Commerce Podcast.
All right, June 12th, 25, episode 9. How you doing today, Judd?
Doing good. How you doing, Carlos?
Pumped. We are talking CRO today, specifically in e-commerce. Um,
Yeah.
CRO acronym for conversion rate optimization, right? Which is vital for any website, right? Any website on the web has some sort of purpose, right? Whatever that purpose it is, you need to make that conversion or action happen. And that's where CRO comes in, right? But today we're just going to keep it to what we know, which is essentially e-commerce.
Mhm.
So I'm just going to start, and I kind of want to start in the middle where most of the action happens on an e-commerce website, and that's your product detail page, right? Um,
Yeah.
so let's let's start with images, right? Your images on your product detail page should always be crisp, high res, maybe show lifestyle imagery. What are your thoughts?
So, when I guess when I tackle like conversion rate optimization as a service for clients, for me, this is an easy win for any agency to, let's say you're going behind another company, right? They fired their current marketer or agency. They've come to you. That's the quickest thing that we would look for to improve what's already happening, because the ads might be done well. You might go through everything, do an audit, be like, look, the client's not actually selling their product, but it's not because of the ads. The ads are getting qualified traffic to the website. It's just not converting. So it's either something to do with the brand itself, the product, how much market penetration it's got. But that's the first thing that we would have to check then is like, okay, let's look at the landing page. Let's look at the site, what it's doing. And there's tons of statistics that I think really put towards the conversion rate that can improve. So let's say your budget, let's say you're converting at 1% when the average benchmark is 2.3. And actually really good websites, Vitacost.com, some of the larger websites that are doing really well are up to like 10 or 11%.
Sure, sure.
So,
And
but
it
you have
also
to look
depends.
at your,
It also depends on the vertical, right? Like luxury
yeah,
websites
you gotta look at your vertical.
tend to
Exactly.
convert at a much lower conversion rate, right? Like 1% or less, right? Obviously, because most it's it's like you want the Ferrari, but can you buy it, right? It's like everybody wants a Ferrari or everybody wants a Bentley, right? It's only a certain amount of people can actually afford it.
So yeah, so like just looking at the difference between mobile, desktop, you really have to dial into your analytics to be able to see where these benchmarks need to happen. So you
Yeah.
create, you kind of look at what those are, but like there's so many things from like cart abandonment that you can look at, looking at the funnel, seeing where people are dropping off, whether it be the actual product page, whether it
Yeah.
be the shopping cart page, whether it
Yeah.
be the checkout page. So you kind of want to look to see where people are going. So if you have a really high percentage of people making it to the checkout page but not checking out, that's an indication that there's something with your checkout page,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
I mean, because
That's
and
where
sometimes,
that's where tracking and analytics becomes vital, having good
oh
KPIs
yeah.
in place, you know?
And servers, doing actual Google, like a lot of people use plugins for this stuff. Pixel your site. There's like a tons of plugins. I don't recommend doing plugins at all. Go Google Tag Manager, create the real events, make sure the events are firing correctly because you could fire an event all sorts of way. It could be based on page load or based on the actual event being fired itself. And knowing which ones to do will actually get you the correct data for Google Analytics because Google Analytics is a moving target when it comes to getting the correct conversions and conversion rate. What I also love too is that this is a little outside conversion rate optimization or just that part of things, but is when marketers will send a client, oh, we got all these conversions in Google Ads, and then I go look it up, and it's not actual real conversion. It's like direction links or it's stuff that doesn't actually equal to an actual lead or a sale, but they consider it conversion. So you really want to look at what is the actual conversion itself, and then that's what you want to optimize towards.
I gotcha. Yeah, so that's an awesome general overview of CRO in general, right? Um, I really wanted to start it off with the biggest, I guess, starting point. What I think is a big starting point is your product detail page, right? So just to give some tips to our viewers or listeners,
Sure.
um, your assets, invest in time and money into good product photography, or if you're a reseller, getting good assets from your vendor or your wholesaler is vital, right? There's nothing worse than going online and buying something and that there's only one image for a product. It's low res. You kind of know what the product is for, but it's not really showing you what it's for. I
So there is so many good AI tools now to create product imagery. Like a lot of people don't realize yet. They're still trying to take pictures and Photoshop it and do all this shit. You don't need to do that no more. Like
yeah,
honestly,
yeah.
yeah, there's one that I just recently got. It's We Shop AI, I think it's called. And what that does is it allows you to pick models with your product. It allows you to
Oh,
pick
wow.
backgrounds. So
Yeah,
you just take literally a picture of your product with the your phone, you upload it, and then it literally removes everything and puts it in
unbelievable.
whatever
Yeah.
scene that you want.
Yeah, the cost savings on that, because photo shoots are not cheap by any means. There's also companies out there where you can ship your product off to, you know, like
Yeah, but
I
even
can,
that, like there's products now that are just killing those businesses
well,
that
I
are
mean,
done
sure.
with it.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no, right? Is do you have the time to do it is what it comes down to as well.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean, yeah, that's also a huge factor, right?
I think, and let's say 5 years from now, product imagery is going to be very easy for just anyone to do
Yeah,
with their phone. Like I honestly believe, like it's kind of like copywriting, how big copywriting services like Contentfly and stuff that I used that were like $1,500 a month, and I barely got a lot out of it. Now it's been replaced by all sorts of apps and things that are auto-generated. Not that I support, do I mean I'm still old school. I like doing things, but I think for customers just to be able to get really good product images, absolutely right for conversion rate
yeah,
optimization.
vital.
Like,
Also video is huge as well too.
yeah,
For
video is
making your
that's
product.
actually one of the biggest selling factors, I think, or conversion uh, statistics, getting good conversions, adding video to your actual product page.
Yeah.
Like,
I want to show something. I want to show something here because this is kind of where this might be heading. And the worldwide developer conference for Apple just happened earlier this week, right? And of course they talked about Apple Vision Pro. Now, I'm not saying this is I'm not saying this is for everybody. I just want to show this here real bad. But this is really cool. What you can do with the uh Vision Pro is you can actually pull the product out of the browser
oh,
and
dang,
interact with it, right in front of you, right? And
that's
that's kind
insane.
of
That's
that's
what
kind of what's
right? Like or
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, it's the Vision Pro. Yeah, it's essentially it's a VR slash AR headset. So this isn't for everybody, right? Like these devices, Meta's device, what is it? Is it the Quest? Um, they
yeah.
they've been at this for quite some time, and it hasn't had like huge success. It
I
hasn't
guess
had.
you need the glasses, right? Like someone needs the actual glasses
Yeah,
so that
exactly.
you
Yeah. So I think, yeah, I
plant.
think where this is gonna like really tie into effect. I think what we're gonna start seeing next is the AR glasses, which Google just announced. Meta has already put out with the Ray-Ban partnership. It's a rumor that Apple's working on this, but that's gonna be like your next big personal device, and it's gonna allow you to easily do all these things, right? Right now, this is like a very small percentage of people are doing this, right?
I don't know how many years, but hopefully it's not gonna be too many years. I'm gonna retire, and I think I'm just gonna set on fire my computer. I don't want to do
You
this
always say
stuff.
that. You always
I
say
want
that.
to be in
I don't think
the
you're
mountains.
wrong.
If I'm wearing glasses and not touching things in real life, I'm gonna be like this. The world just what happened, man. I miss malls. You know what I mean? Remember I used to go to the mall and it was like an event. with your family. You get to the
I
mall
tell
and
you, I
have
don't,
lunch.
I don't, I really don't, because
I mean, I'm talking about like the 90s,
no,
like
I
90s,
don't.
early
I'm
2000s.
sorry. Look, I went to Dixie. Well, okay, I miss maybe hanging out at the mall as a kid, but I went to Dick's the other day. I can't tell you how many shoes that my son picked were out of stock.
Well,
It,
that's
it
the
was
problem
it
because
was so
they're not
frustrating,
there.
so frustrating. Where online, and this is something we're going to talk about
Yeah,
too. Online, you can just filter based on size, and it's like, hey, here's what's available for you. Make a choice. It's
yeah.
quick, man. It eliminates that, and then you got to
Talk
hunt
about
something.
buying clothes. My buddy, he's like, dude, you know where I get my clothes? Like, he buys all these nice like shirts. I'm like, that's a nice shirt you got on, man. Like, it's like a surf shirt. It's like 120 bucks, for a shirt. He's like, dude, I got it for 30 bucks. I'm like, where? He goes, I got it on eBay. I'm like, it's
Yeah.
fucking used. And he's like, yeah, it's used.
Oh,
And I'm like, looking at it, I'm like, dang, that's not a bad idea. Like, he buys all this stuff there, and I'm like, and I guess women do that too. They'll buy like a
yeah,
used clothes that's like a designer thing, but.
yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I don't know why I got into that
All
from
right. Well,
going to the
move away
mall.
from again, it's vital. It's vital to have good imagery, good media, good assets on your product detail pages. Is
Well, video, it will increase your conversion up to 80% by just adding a video.
that's awesome.
The Zappos case study.
And with that,
They
yeah, just
go ahead.
kind of moving along with that, you also have to have good product descriptions, right? And
Yeah.
you product descriptions are tricky because you I think you have to write for two audiences. You have to write for like the technical mindset, but then you also have to like write for the average Joe, right? Meaning, let's say you're selling a drill, right? And what I'm trying to get at here is you always need to be thinking about benefit driven product descriptions, right? So
Well,
let's say you're selling a drill. You don't want to say it spins at 25,000 RPM, right? You do want to say that maybe under the specs, the technical specs, but ideally what you want to say is fast enough to drill a perfect hole every time. And that's kind of
well, yeah.
that's the difference there. That's what I'm trying to say.
So the way I look at that too, that's an art form in itself. That's really where a copywriter can come in when they know
Yeah.
their stuff.
And
Is that
now with the LLMs,
you have like
made it
literally.
so much easier now.
But you have the analytical buyer, the impulse buyer. That's why a product page, it's good to have bullet points and really easy things for someone that really wants to get in quick.
Good
But
point.
then having the tabs for the description and that analytical buyer. So you have to
Right.
appease many buyers, not just one. So a lot of people think one size fits all, but there's buying patterns between all these personas that you kind of want to look for and put
Right.
that page in. But
Right, right. And there are people, I'll give you a good example. I'm going to correlate it to fishing. I was buying a reel last year and I needed the drag set to be a specific number of pounds, right? And that's not in your short or long description. That's in the technical document. What's that?
You're trying too hard. Just,
They're
just
trying too
buy.
hard, right? Yeah, yeah. No, I wasn't
Hey,
trying too hard. I'm trying to master planer fishing, and you need
I
like
love it though. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I love it.
you need a reel that can handle it, right? You can't just put any reel on there. So,
You know what's annoying is every reel where it has the little line. When you fish, it shows you how much line you're letting out.
yeah,
They're all different. One is 50 yards.
yeah,
One is like 50 feet. I'm like,
yeah,
can you guys just universally make
yeah.
it so
Well,
you
I
know?
yes, yeah, I see what you're saying. Also, it depends what kind of line you have on, whether it's braid, mono,
Yeah,
because there
yeah,
it's different widths, and even within mono, you have different widths for the same pound test. They're all there's no standard there either.
and that may and going back to conversion rate, with the optimization and the buying persona is the same thing. Like there's so many ways that
Right.
someone thinks
But
they
all right,
might be
so
doing.
yeah, ideally you got to think of creative ways to attract all that, right? To
Yeah,
engage that user based on the data they're looking for. There's always this saying in like landing pages is how much information should I put on it? And the right answer is the most you can have,
yeah,
right? Because
yeah.
again, you wanna appeal to every type of
Well, look
audience,
at
right? And
Amazon's product pages. Jeez,
oh,
they got
yeah,
everything under the sun.
yeah,
They even have AI on there answering
I love that
questions.
now how they give you the AI summary.
But it's just to the impact on accurate conversion or accurate product descriptions. It says
Yeah.
there's an up to 78% increase in well-crafted, accurate product descriptions that can boost the conversion. So like just making sure that that is good. Yeah, and that's all. when you hire a web designer too, or web design agency, that's kind of stuff you want to ask for, because if that agency doesn't know these things, they're going to design something for you
Yeah,
that's just
yeah,
mediocre at
yeah.
best, just literally follows suit of everything. So you want to think out of the box.
You're
So
totally
a
right. Yeah,
great point on the
yeah.
product pages themselves.
Trust signals, specifically
Oh,
reviews, kind of moving on, right? That's huge, reviews, right? Um, you expand on reviews, Judd.
huh?
Reviews, trust
Oh,
signals.
reviews. Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
having
now we're kind of moving
it,
on to trust signals, specifically reviews.
yeah, well, I would say trust messaging, whether they be reviews, badges, showing that you're experts and or whatever, like made in USA, even like all that kind of
Yeah, yeah.
stuff.
Certification, warranty information, like
That's
lifetime
happens to be
warranty.
Yeah, that happens to be one of the biggest A/B testing factors. So, when you do conversion rate optimization, you want to test actually the page and the site. So, the one way that we also would test is by doing different variations of that page, because
Gotcha.
one size usually doesn't fit all, and sometimes you have to really test things to see. So, you might add reviews on there. You might add, trust messaging where it's like the, badges of sort, whether it be guaranteed or your money back, those type of things. So, and then,
That's another big one too. Yeah, return policy. Nine out of ten
oh,
times, 9 out of 10 times, I buy on Amazon because of
yeah,
the return, because it's so easy to return something. They're not gonna hassle me. I can just do it
yeah,
through the app. I can take it to a UPS store or a Whole Foods.
SSL badge certificates, security certificates, even though that every site's pretty much secure now, but
Yeah,
that's been
I would say that one's kind of desensitized now. I mean, that's like if you don't see that on your browser, if you don't see it on your browser, just close the tab out.
But I think with especially older generations, they still like seeing
Good
that.
point. That's actually a very good point. Yeah, I guess the older generations actually they're not. I don't want to say smart enough, but they're just not fine-tuned enough to look at the browser Chrome and see that it's actually secure.
Well, I think they've been beat up more than the younger generation as far as knowing how things are not secure back in the day. It was the Wild West. So yeah, I would say that they've been through the ringer with that, where younger generations, they just assume it's secure.
Right, right,
That's
right.
what I think anyway. But
You know,
return policies and refund, clear return and refund policies right on the page, like having guaranteed refund 30 days, or whatever it is, just little words like that as far as that type of messaging.
right, right.
And
Just to build that consumer trust.
yeah.
Reviews. Reviews
Oh
are
yeah, we're
huge.
talking about reviews.
Review. What? I'm sorry. What's that?
No, you asked me about reviews, and then I went
Well,
into
it's all part of the same subtopic, right? Reviews are a trust signal, right? If you have a
yeah,
product that has a 1 out of 5 stars, that's not a good trust signal for somebody, right?
yeah. Well, and that's the other thing too. You don't want to put that on your site. Like if you have bad reviews, don't put it on your site. Like that's not going to help your conversion, right? That's something you need to fix. But if you have good reviews, you can get up to 270% increase in conversion by displaying 5 or more product reviews on your product page.
Yeah, yeah, and the tricky part is getting reviews, right? From your customers. And this also applies to like local services too, local businesses. Um,
Trustpilot does a good job at that. Like Trustpilot as an app.
Trustpilot does a good job, yeah. Let's get more into actual like WooCommerce and Shopify. I want to show two examples. Because out of the box, both platforms they have the capability, but it isn't well-rounded in terms of the workflow, right? Ideally, as a store owner, when somebody makes a purchase and they get their product, once it's fulfilled, they get the product. Ideally, 3 to 5 days later, you want to follow up with an email that says, "Hey, how was your product? Give us a review," right?
Yeah.
And ideally, you want to incentivize that customer to give you the review. You can incentivize that customer with a coupon, really anything. And just a quick side tip: um, if you're asking for a review on your website, it's your website. You can do pretty much whatever you want that's within legal limits. So you can incentivize people by giving them a coupon or giving something free or hey, enter a raffle, whatever the case is. If you're asking for reviews on third-party platforms like Google My Business, Yelp, you cannot incentivize, and they constantly tell you this.
Oh yeah,
So just
people still do.
people still do it, but you shouldn't do it. If you get caught doing it, they will probably
Yeah,
delist you or remove your
yeah.
listing. But again, for your website, it's totally fine to do that, right? It's quote unquote your
I
domain.
recommend though a platform for that. I wouldn't recommend using a plugin. Oh, you are gonna basically go to a plugin.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, well, for like, but I mean, look, ideally you
Well,
want
let
to
me
do both.
like how I don't really use plugins for it. Or one of the main reasons is I don't like if you're using the server to send the email, which we use Postmark, for example,
Yeah,
it can get a lot of spam. Uh, it could be marked as spam a lot, and that kind of sucks for if you're using a like a transactional email service.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's yes, that's a whole separate topic. We can discuss that some other time. Because that's been hot the last year due to the
Yeah,
DKIM and all the security policies.
yeah.
But this is an awesome plugin. Again, this will follow up with your customer. It'll ask for the review. It'll ask for stars. It gives you the ability to upload media, which is
I think
huge, right?
we use the YIF one a lot, I think, or have customers because we still have we've been grandfathered in from like 5 years ago. Remember when they used to have the club membership?
Yeah.
I never got rid of it.
Wow. Wow, that's
I still
awesome.
have it.
So yeah, if you run a website,
Guy probably on there. They're like, this guy just doesn't want to not renew, or he keeps renewing.
anyway, if you run a website, this is the product or plugin I recommend for that. If
Awesome.
you're over on the Shopify side, there's a plugin. I'm sorry,
Sorry.
what's
I was
that?
gonna say successes maybe some of your clients had for that using that plugin. Like, did it really help?
I mean, it really does. Yeah, yeah. We have again, it's got to be properly configured and incentivized, and the messaging has to be in place, right? You can't just like drop it in. But it will most certainly help. We have customers on both. Um,
Yeah.
this one is for Shopify. This one does a great job too. It's the same thing. You
Looks.
can you can customize the workflow in terms of like, hey, leave us a review. Hey, if you upload an image, we'll give you an additional 5% off.
Oh, that's pretty
Yeah,
nice.
it's really, really nice. And it converts really well when you start
I
incentivizing.
don't. I wonder why someone hasn't done the same for WooCommerce.
Well, that's this one's very similar.
That one sounds a little bit different though, as far as being able to like upload like images and stuff. Like I like being able to have the interactive kind of community where you get your customer
Yeah.
to do things.
Well,
Oh,
no,
you
no,
can still do.
you can upload stuff. You
Uh,
can do video. And again, this one at the end of the day, this one is more customizable than the Shopify one. The
oh yeah,
Shopify looks
source.
is pretty cookie cutter. But
Okay, cool.
they both
You could just you can customize that design probably a hell of a lot easier
oh
in
yeah.
WooCommerce.
Oh, come on, yes, yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Cool.
So yeah, so reviews, let's kind of move it along. Now that we've talked or covered the product detail page, let's move on to the checkout process, right? So
Okay.
let's talk about checkout optimization. So one big thing in checkout is to minimize your checkout steps as much as possible. The day where it was like 4 steps, step one, create your account or sign in. Step two, give us your billing information. Step three, give us your payment
One
information.
page checkout.
Yeah, those days are if you still have that, if you're still running Magento-ish type websites that had that long workflow, that is
Yeah.
now gone. Ideally, you want that view, you want to be able to view everything on one page, make it super simple, right?
I'll give you a story from like 2008 days when I was doing George Foreman Grill. Remember we worked together a
Yes,
lot on that?
yes, yes, of course.
Oh yeah, George
I'm
Foreman
still, I'm still
Grill.
scarred from those days.
Right, yeah, God, yeah, I used to call you up like pissed. Sorry. But we had George Foreman Grill and Black and Decker Appliances. George Foreman Grill was like a newer age user, where Black and Decker Appliances was back then, so that's even older. That was we called them just silverbacks because they literally were the old customer base that loved Black and Decker before everything started going overseas. Because Black and Decker used to be a really, I think, great brand in a lot of ways, but then everything went overseas. You know how that went. The brands kind of all degraded. The 2 year warranty. It's just before they used to have a 10 year warranty. But anyway, I had to figure out why they weren't checkout. Same thing, conversion rate optimization. Why Black and Decker wasn't converting as well as as George Foreman Grill's site, and basically it was exactly the same build, same everything, right? So I went and did a test and put the step process that we talked about, like we say we want to get away from, put that in Black and Decker appliances because George Foreman had just a one-page checkout. Literally, the conversion got that much better. They were understanding that they had to go through each step versus trying to fill out all this stuff on one page, right? So it made, I think it doubled the conversion just by going back to
Wow.
that
So
because that
this
user
had the
base was.
opposite impact, I say.
Yeah, and then we did much better on Bing than we did in Google Ads because all those older users were on Bing at that time
I
versus
say,
going to Google.
I
Yeah, that's
say, yeah.
crazy. Like little things like that,
It's
man.
so
That's why it's a
funny.
great thing.
Yeah. Yeah. You are seeing now though that checkout flows have been dramatically
Oh yeah,
simplified, right? And
yeah,
I'm going to tell you what's been a game changer. Apple Pay and Google Pay.
yes, yeah, and Stripe does that very well. Like Stripe allows you to
Oh,
have all this
yes, without a doubt. Yeah. Yeah.
have the
Stripe, yeah,
pay.
without a doubt. And the same thing on Shopify. It's like out of the box, turn it on. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, it's funny, you're also starting to see all these other quick checkout solutions. Like, for example, Shopify has Shop. WooCommerce has WooPay.
I use that a lot. Shop.
Stripe has Link, right? And the point of those is that you can essentially jump from website to website and they'll store your payment information so it's easy for you to check out with that particular technology.
Safer than put it in your like browser and
You got
that
it.
kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's basically all stored in the cloud.
Yeah.
But that's a tough one too, because sometimes you tend to confuse your users. Now it's like, you check out, you got Venmo, PayPal, credit card, Apple
Yeah.
Pay. So you really have to
So one other instance too, where I was trying to get the conversion rate up for the checkout process is that I actually put chat on the checkout page
oh,
only,
nice. Nice.
and it would pop up, "Are you having any issues checking out?" And that's how I figured out there was a problem.
Oh, I say.
Yes. So chat, like, so if you're like having issues, you got everybody going to checkout, you can kind of go on there and put
Yeah,
chat. And if someone says, "Oh, for some reason it's not allowing me to put in my credit card," well, shit.
that's a big
There you go.
problem. Yeah,
There's your
that's a big
problem.
problem. Yeah,
But you can use
yeah.
Hotjar and you can record user sessions. But to me, the best way to do it is literally just put
Call
chat on
people.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, help people out, check out,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
be.
because with Hotjar or any of these screen recorders, it's a hit or miss. You may have to go through like 1,000 sessions
Yeah,
to see
just
what's
having
going
the chat
on.
on
Yeah,
there. Yeah, like and I would even dare to say if someone had a dedicated person that would just watch the checkout, particularly if they have a lot of traffic
yeah,
and that interacts with that person, the buyer on the checkout page. Because I remember I was actually doing like order after order for several clients. They're like, "Oh, let me help you out," and I was helping them check out. I told the client, I'm like, "You got to do this," but like this is how I'm getting people to check out better on your site. It's just they're asking questions about the product. They're wanting to check out, but then they get kind of cold feet, and they're so you kind of just push them along, and but that's one way
yeah.
to interact with
Here's
customers.
here's another big one too, is allowing guest checkout. That also dramatically reduces fraud.
Yes,
Because
yeah,
now
people don't like.
yeah, you're not making people register.
Yeah, that's a huge one.
Also, here's a quick tip too. Shipping costs. Ideally you want to show those on the view cart page.
Free shipping is still the number one.
Yeah, free shipping is a whole different beast altogether, but in terms of
It's still the number one thing that people will check out for if there's free shipping.
yeah,
So it's even better just to put the shipping into the price if you can for your product than it is to
yeah.
not have it.
What works really well too is the free shipping threshold toolbars. Let's
Oh
say
yeah,
you go
for
for
like $50, you
yeah,
get free shipping.
they
Yeah.
tell you like where you're at.
Yeah. God,
Amazon
these are
does it.
bringing me all back to Vitacost days and like Applica, probably consumer or Spectrum brands. Like when I was there, I was like literally all the little things that before they became popular, you had to figure out, right? You're sitting there, but now it's like these are the go-to, like they're
Industry
the
standard. Yeah,
cardinal
yeah,
rule.
it's
Yeah,
all
we
right.
did test it too, Adobe Test and Target. That was a massive program to because
Never used that.
they'd have 1 million views in one day. So
Wow.
just having a script messed up would
God.
be like thousands and thousands of dollars. So like we had to test all sorts of stuff. We test literally the background color of a site on different browsers. We put an image in the background instead. Like we did all sorts of things that
Yeah,
literally
yeah.
showed that it made, tens of thousands of more dollars just by changing the color of the background.
It's so funny you bring that up, right? You get into A and B testing, and A and B testing is good, but it only truly works when you have
Yeah,
a
Trav.
high traffic or high production website, right? If you have a
Yeah.
site that just does a few sales a day, you're not
Well,
going to get much out of the data.
mathematically, you can't come to a conclusion on the test without having enough visitors and traffic. So you're guessing more. But yeah, but that was fun. That was like one of my favorite jobs. It was is
That's actually
is
cool.
doing.
Yeah, yeah, because
I learned so much.
that's a
Yeah.
true optimization right there.
Yeah, I had a boss, so I'm not going to name names. He's a good guy, but he didn't believe me when I said that just by changing the background because we did a polka dot test. I was like, I did polka dot on, I think it was Microsoft browser or whatever,
Yeah,
and it actually converted more. He's like, we're not changing to polka dot. I'm like, but it says we'll make $100,000 more this month if we change to
change
polka
the code
dot.
with that.
I was like, dude, come on, man. Like he's like, no, we're not doing it. I was like, all right.
All right, let's kind of hop over to we talked about product detail pages, checkout process. Let's get into
Yeah,
product discovery or general website navigation, right? Specifically for sites that have hundreds or thousands of products, how
yeah,
important navigation and search is. So
yeah,
here's some topics for you. Predictive search, that's pretty big.
huge.
Um,
Um, a Search WP plugin,
yes,
great plugin.
yes. That's very nice. It can't, they can't text your server though, so you gotta tweak it
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
The reason is they put a lot of demand on the database.
What's the one with Jetpack? There's that search functionality on Jetpack. I forgot the name of it, but it's for high, like it really does well for high traffic sites for being able to search well. I forgot the name.
I'm not sure.
Um, keep talking. I'll look it up.
Yeah, sure. So look, another big one is simplifying categories, right? Try to, you know, I always use the Best Buy analogy. If if you ever walk into a Best Buy, I think they do an amazing job at segmentation, right? You walk into a Best Buy, you're always walking in.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah. It's all about that. When you walk in, that like
When you walk in, number one is you walk into the middle of the store, right? So
yeah,
you're at the center of the store, and then you can see the different departments, right? Whether it's TVs,
yeah.
computers, appliances, right? So now you know where to go, right?
Well, Walmart tracks all of that. They have actually cameras that track everybody and the patterns of people where they walk, and they literally will put things.
I'll catch you. Yeah, it's like heat
Yeah,
mapping for the physical world.
yeah, it's literally insane. Like that, like just like Disney World, same thing. Like
I've heard that. Yeah. It's how they I guess
same
they
thing.
track patterns throughout different times and stuff, right?
Which, by the way, I hate. When you have little kids, Disney World, they suck. For when you get out of the, every time you got to get out of a ride, you walk right into a store.
Oh,
So it's like dragging your kid. Like we're
see,
not buying anything. We're not
you
buying
know,
anything.
you know what
Get in
that's
the
called? You know what it's called? CRO, conversion rate optimization.
with the using your little toddler.
Yeah, without a
Oh,
doubt. Um, anyway, so simplifying categories is very, very big, right? Because you want to draw a path for your customer to be able to get to what they're looking for.
mega
Um,
menu,
oh,
mega menu.
mega menus, those are good to have done properly, absolutely. Here's a big one for you. Filtering.
Oh
Filtering
yeah.
jewelry websites, apparel websites.
Attributes and all you have to make, a lot of clients they don't set up. We just started a site. It's a cigar company, and we had to pull all the products from various other sites, and
Okay,
it
yeah,
sucked because some sites had the attributes, some didn't. So it's like going back. I told the client, you're gonna have to go back now because you want to. We don't know these cigars and all the things that you need, so you got to go and really put the attributes to each
right,
one because that's how it's really going to be improved. Because there was a few really nice cigar sites, but the key thing was the attributes.
sure.
So if you're
Yeah, and
certain for a
it's
certain
something
cigar,
right, of course, yeah, and it's something Coffee too, believe it or not. Coffee's a big one.
Yeah.
The type of grind.
You on a coffee website?
I get a few of them. Yeah, yeah.
I did one a long time ago as a roaster or something. It was like 15 years ago, but it was forgot the name of it. It had like these pods, like before the pods were a thing, but they were like in a it was an actual hole, it was like Tespo or something, but it was a whole um it wasn't like plastic, it was all done in I don't know what you call it, not plastic. It was like all like eco-friendly and stuff. So
I
you put
say,
the yeah, it was its own little coffee maker and stuff. Called
I say.
I gotta look it up. It's a good one though.
Anyway, filtering is vital, and it's a conversation you got to have with customers in terms of, there's a saying when we do data imports, right? Because obviously, when you're talking to somebody about developing an e-commerce website, if you're talking thousands of products, you're not going to manually enter those. You're gonna be there for decades doing that. So you want to do a bulk import, right? And then the term that comes into play there is garbage in, garbage out.
You what so which tool do you use for that? Either by script or plugin?
Yeah, I think there's a plugin from Woo. Um
I do WP All Export. That's a
W
great one.
WPL Export, is that the one you use? I'm trying to think the one we use.
There's a few for WooCommerce, but that one has always been a classic
But
for me.
that's the easy part though. The hard part is actually making sure all the data is properly classified and
Well,
entered.
so what happens is, let's say you don't have everything you need. You export it from WP All Export, all database tables. So you
Uh-huh.
get the actual file needed, and then you hand that to the customer. You highlight
Sure.
the column,
Yeah, yeah.
these things out this way.
Right, right,
They break.
right. Yeah. Without a doubt. But I'm saying, it all revolves back into explaining to customers, hey, you want people to be able to find what they're actually looking for, and this is what it takes to get there, kind of thing.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. That's the whole because they just want to get there.
Yeah, yeah,
Think you're like a. They think like you're like a teleportation system
yeah,
that
yeah.
lives.
The fewer clicks, the better. The fewer clicks, the better.
Are you that? And it's like, no, you gotta, this is your thing. Like, we're gonna help you build it. We can do it, but it would be more cost effective if you just fill out.
Most likely, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Going back to the homepage, and I know we kind of like we started down the middle, went down, and then we're back up to the homepage. Um, it's important to feature your best sellers, right? So ideally on the homepage, I like to have a good call to action, and
Yeah.
then feature best sellers, and then
Top
sure.
products.
I'm sorry, what?
Top products.
Top products, yeah. And then kind of get into your categories, your main categories as well. Very much repetitive with the main nav is what I like to do.
And I'll tell you one thing that always works, and this is if you have a lot of products and recommend that you merchandise and you put things on sale. A lot of companies they don't put anything on sale and they wonder why they're not selling. People love to see that. So having the actual sales page, like literally a sales page where it shows all the products that are on sale.
Oh, no
That's
doubt, no doubt. Listen, when I buy clothing, because I hate going to the stores and buying clothes.
yeah,
It's overpriced. You got to look. I love going to the Nordstrom rack, for example. I go to the clearance section. If I'm looking for shorts, I put in my waist size, which is 32. I sort by price, and I tell you, I do
you
like.
got 30, really
I'm sorry,
not
what?
34. You got 32.
Yeah, 32. Yeah, so
I got a
32.
33, man. It's so annoying because I want to be at a 32. I'm working on it, but it's like I have to get just a little bit bigger, which sometimes requires me to wear a damn belt because I'm not 32
I
because they
know
don't
what you
have a
mean. Yeah,
33 waist.
yeah,
But anyway, good for you.
yeah. Anyway, point being is just that I literally if I want a shirt, I know, again, clearance, medium, sometimes large, depending on the brand, but I just know, right? And it just like maximizes my time.
Yeah.
And that's how
Well,
you need to think.
you hit it on the dot. Time is a huge factor. The longer someone is on a page, the less likely
Right,
they're going
yeah, you're creating friction. If they can't find something, the time's ticking, man. It is an ADD world,
Yeah,
literally.
absolutely. By the
Um,
way, that search plugin was called Jetpack. They call it Jetpack Search. It used to be called a different name, but they just call it Jetpack Search now. So Jetpack has
okay, and it's an add-on for Jetpack, or it's part of
yeah,
Jetpack, or.
Yeah, it's actually there's pricing for it. So you would pay for it, and there's
Oh, I
tiers
see.
of 10K, 20K, 30K visits. So if you have a lot of
I
visits,
gotcha.
you pay for it, but the
Uh,
search is exceptionally faster with it.
I got you. All right, we're gonna dive into some just some best practices, some overall tips and tricks.
Okay.
We already kind of touched on A/B testing. You should A/B test again only if you're high volume, right, Judd? You have a lot of experience with that.
Yeah. Definitely high volume, but it's still good to do tests, even if you have low volume, because it gives you kind of an idea of what works and doesn't work. So let's say you're doing a test and you're not getting any conversion, but the other version's got 5. Well, then you kind of say, hey, that's working. But if one got 2 and the other got 4, that's not really enough. You don't have enough traffic to say, okay, you got to wait a long time. But you can let the test go for 3 to 6 months, right? And then make that. But I still encourage to still do testing, even if you don't have traffic, just to if you're unable to change the dial, you gotta change what's going on. So I still always recommend change in
Yeah,
any
and
case.
there's some really cool tools out there. I forgot what the last tool we used was, but
BWO.com,
I'm sorry, which one?
BWO, visualweboptimizer.com is a
Is that
great one.
is that one of those that like automatically makes changes for you and does the A/B testing for you and just outputs
I
what works best?
don't know if it does that, but it does allow you to create your tests and stuff. But that's
I
a
gotcha.
great, and then like an AI one. God, man, that's another one I haven't looked up. I have to look
Yeah,
that one up. I'm
there's
sure they probably are working towards. It's
yes,
one of the
yes. No, no, no. They're already out. I can't remember the last time we used that. It was for a very busy website we worked on, and
there's True Conversion, TRU conversion.com.
anyway,
Um,
some of these tools can like really help you achieve that A/B testing and actually automate some of that for you. So so you don't have to create all the scenarios yourself. They'll help you create the scenarios. Um, a live chat or a chat bot. It's just something that you're starting to see more and more now, right?
yeah, having live chat on a site, especially if you're selling something, is huge. It is an easy thing to do. You can get even overseas help. I know like most people might shy away from that, but honestly, you can make it very cost effective, put a script together and have someone answer questions. And if they always got to escalate it, particularly if it's a high price item, they can to somebody through Slack, for example. But just having someone on chat will help, I think, sell product in general.
Sure. Yeah. No, and it really it builds trust, right? Because it's like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm actually talking to somebody. Um,
Yeah.
urgency and scarcity, right? So we see this a lot. This is common when and I'm like WooCommerce, Shopify does it out of the box. If you have low quantities left on a particular product, you can show those quantities. You can say, hey, only 3 left or only 5
Oh,
left.
absolutely. Yeah. Or like if there's a sale going on and you probably have this in your list, but there's a sale going on and having like sale ends in 5 minutes.
There you go. That's urgency. Yeah, yeah.
I, I refreshed the page and then I saw it restart at 5 minutes and I'm
It
like,
does.
wait a
Yeah.
minute,
Yeah.
this is bullshit. The
Yes,
sale's going.
yes, of course. Yeah, those are like what like gray hat tactics, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
free shipping.
Oh, we talked about that, but
Free
yeah,
shipping is a
that's
big one though, and you really, we always try to tell our customers how vital it is to have free shipping. Oh well,
oh yeah.
I don't want to, I don't want to lose
No,
money on it. We tell them, hey, jack up your prices on your products. Consumers want to see free shipping, and we can all
I
thank
just
Amazon.
if you sell on Amazon and you have your own site, just bear in mind they're going to search you and then they're going to go search Amazon for your product and they're
Most
just going to go
likely,
buy it there.
most likely, yeah, yeah. So you got, that you got to be price
And
competitive. Again,
Amazon
almost
selling that shit. So like they literally, I don't know if you ever had to get a product on Amazon, but literally Amazon, they're the worst to negotiate with. They'll literally ask, like if you say, "Oh, my margin is $5," they'll be like, "Okay, we want 250." They'll go for 50% right off the bat. Like they'll ask you what your profit margin, and they'll want half or maybe even more sometimes. So you have to be like when you sell on your site, you have to be cautious of if you also sell on Amazon to ensure like you want your channel to be profitable, right? Better so than Amazon. So you want to entice them to buy from you for certain
sure.
ways.
Yeah,
If you don't have free shipping, none of that on there, they're not going to buy from you. They're going to continue to
yeah.
buy off Amazon, and you're going to have to pay Amazon for that sale.
Yeah. And free, I tell customers too, like, look, free shipping doesn't have to be overnight via FedEx. You know, free shipping can be standard ground, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
But definitely that's a must have. You know, you can also have a free shipping threshold, right? Of $50 or more gets free shipping.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's actually even more safe and easy,
all the luxury brands, they just give you free
Yeah.
shipping.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's you know, they have such a high profit margin and you're buying luxury, so yeah. Here's probably the biggest one is mobile optimization or having your site being mobile friendly, right? Today, especially for B2C websites, that is huge, right? Over the
Yeah.
years, we've seen more and more mobile traffic overlap desktop traffic, right? It's probably up to like, you know, it's
It's like
on
80 or 90% of all.
Yes, I was gonna say, like, you know, I remember when we started tracking it on the radar years ago, it was at like 50%. Now it's like, it's not unusual to see 80-90% of mobile traffic. Now it's funny, I know we're kind of focusing on B2C, but on the B2B side, you still tend to see more desktop than mobile traffic, right? Because B2B sites tend to get traffic from people that are working on their desk, is what it comes down to, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, I gotta tell you,
Or tablets.
me personally, I enjoy shopping on my desktop more than my mobile. I feel like it's a much better experience. But a lot of people don't do that. That's just me. So you know, having a fast website, having all those features that you have on desktop in terms of
Yeah.
filtering, quick checkout, vital for mobile. Yeah, so I think that which pretty much covered everything, man. Um,
Yeah.
you know, else you want to touch on?
Um, I don't think so. I think I think transparency is probably the only other thing that I wanted to mention that, you've got to be transparent in your pricing. Can't have hidden things like the shipping. Like if they're hit with the shipping and checkout and the shipping's like, 20% of the sale for the product's cost, that's why you're losing them. We talk about shipping, but like transparency, I think is huge when it comes to pricing. So you need to make sure that that's very clear from the product page all the way to checkout page. That'd be the only other thing I'd want to add to the list.
All right. Well, I will see you next week for episode 10.
All right, bud.
See you later.